How can you join daily data with period data where the periods are not regular? Hello, I'm Philip Burton of idodata.com. In the previous video, we had a look at joining daily data with weekly data, but we were able to use functions such as datePart to go back to the beginning of a week. But what happens if you don't have weekly data? What if you have some more periodic data? So here we have got some period data where the periods start randomly. January the 20th, 2nd of February, 10th of February. They're not every 7 or 10 or any number of days. And we've also got daily data. So what I want for each period is the total number of employees, or alternatively, I want the period description within my daily data. So let's see how we can do this. Now, if you want to do this as a practice activity, then all of this code is included in the description to this video. Good luck. And if you get a solution other than the one that I'm going to do, why not post it in the comments to this video? So first of all, I need to find out for each row, which period is it in? So for this first row, we are in period 1. It's only when we get to row 2 and we go all the way down to row 9 that we're in period 2. So what's happening here? Well, in each case, the employee date must be at least the period commencing date, but equally, it can't stray into the next period commencing date. So what I want for each row is the highest period commencing date that we have reached. So for row 4, which is the 4th of February, then the highest period commencing date would be the 2nd of February. Once we get into row 11, the 11th of February, then the highest period commencing date would be the 10th of February. So highest, how can we translate the word highest into SQL? It's the max. So let's have a look at what we can do. So first of all, we have got a select star from daily data. And I'm going to alias the daily data with the letter D. Now, I want an extra column in this saying what is the max period commencing. And because I'm putting it here in the select clause, it's going to be a correlated subquery. So in other words, for each row, it's going to have a look at the entirety of this data and say which is the most appropriate result. And for correlated queries or subqueries, we need brackets to start with. So I want to select the topmost period, so that is max of period commencing from the period data. So this is my period commencing. Now this is not currently a correlated query. If I was to run that, then I would have the latest period commencing for every single row. But I do not want the employee date to be less than the period commencing date. So here I've got the period commencing the 10th of February, but he only worked on the 9th. It's the wrong period. So first thing I'm going to do is alias this table period data P. So now I'm going to put in a where clause where the period commencing is less than or equal to the employee date. So for the employee date of the 3rd of February, I've got the 28th of January. Well, that certainly would be less than or equal to the employee date. I've got the 2nd of February. That would be less than or equal to. And I've got the 10th of February. That is not less than or equal to. So that will be excluded from the calculation of the max. So we only have the 20th of January and the 2nd of February. So when it looks at the max, it will then say, just give me the 2nd of February. Now I've aliased it, both tables, so I can refer to them in the where clause. So let's run this and see where we are. So now you can see that we have period 1 just containing 1 row. We have period 2 containing 8 rows, and we have period 3 containing 5 rows. Right, so how do we get the period description in there? I'm going to save the results of this query using a with. So with, and you can put any name, I'm going to call it my table, as, and then open bracket and close bracket. That then just saves this results of this query under the name of my table. Now, if you're using a with, then you need to precede the previous statement with a semicolon. Next, I can say select star from my table. So that will get me exactly back to where I was. But what I can now do is join my table with the period data. So if this is my table, and I'm going to call this M, I'm going to left join this with the period data. I'm left joining it to ensure I have all of the data from my table. And the join is this period commencing is equal to this period commencing. So if I do that, I can now retrieve all of the data from my table, and I can retrieve any of the data from the period commencing. So I'm going to get the period description. So now let's run that. And now you can see we have inserted the period description into our daily data. So that is how we can get the period data into the daily data. How can we then summarize it? Well, I can have a look at what columns I want, just as in the previous video. So I'm going to have a look at m.period commencing, p.period description, and the sum of the employee count. And then I need to use a group by for exactly the same reasons as we talked about in our previous video. Whenever you use aggregation in the select clause, then we need to have anything that's not aggregated in the group by, and I'll order by it as well. So now let's run this. We need to include the with as part of what we run. And we can now see in period 1 we had 5 employees. In period 2 we had 40 employee days, so the number of days that the employees worked in total. And in period 3 we had 17 employee days worked. If correlated queries are new to you, then I would invite you to join us in our SQL course. So here I'm on our website, idodata.com, and it's our best-selling Querying Microsoft SQL Server with t-sql. In some of our more advanced functionality, we create not just subqueries, but correlated subqueries and CTEs, common table expressions, using the with statement. So there is more information about this course on our website, idodata.com. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then why not give it a like? And why not comment? What's your favourite part? What have you learned from this video? Or are there any topics you want me to cover? And why not subscribe and click that bell? That way you'll be notified of any new videos. I'm Philip Burton of idodata.com. Thanks for watching and keep learning.